Hello friends, welcome back. So I'm still on the mental kick of thinking about the new year and doing a lot of just sort of reflecting back on 2020 and thinking forward to 2021, which we're already in now. But I wanted to I sat down and wrote. I'm not somebody that really does a lot of like resolutions, mostly just because I feel like we all know I have commitment issues. So committing to a resolution to me just feels like giving myself another area to feel like I failed in. So I am a very goal-oriented person, but I like to have flexibility because again, I've learned, I'm 36 years old. I've learned that like life happens and sometimes the goalposts get moved and things change. And I've just learned how important it is to be able to be flexible, just in life in general, but also with yourself and with the goals you set for yourself. And when you get too like staunch and entrenched in something and immovable in it, then I think it breeds a bit of misery for yourself and also for the people around you. All of that to say, I do actually have though some goals for 2021. 2020 was one of those years that for me was the epitome of bittersweet. There were so many things that happened that were difficult and hard and just rough all around, but there were also some really great, amazing things that happened for our family and for me personally in 2020. And so I can't look at it like, I know everybody's like, oh, 2020 is the worst year ever. I can't look at it like that. That would be disingenuous. I wouldn't be being honest if I pretended like 2020 was the worst year ever, because it wasn't. It was the year that my book came out, my first book that I have ever written, something that I never thought would happen ever. That was a huge accomplishment for me and something that I worked on for 2 years, and to have it be born into the world was such a huge deal for me personally. So obviously like that was a big deal. It was a big accomplishment for me in 2020. We here as a This Gathered Nest, Angela Braniff channel community, y'all raised over $25,000 for foster children in the United States, not even counting all of the money that you guys donated to Shine and Moana and the different organizations that we love and believe in and are passionate about. You guys have come alongside us and fallen in love with them too. And that's been, honest to God, one of the number one reasons that I don't write off social media and YouTube and Instagram as like a sea of crazy and just leave and never come back, is because I look at some of the things that this community has accomplished, some of the ways that this community has shown up to help people in the world, and I'm forever blown away by it. And to me, it's a perfect picture of using your platform, your space, your voice for good in the world. And I love you guys so much, and I am forever indebted to you for being able to, for me coming on here and saying, hey, we care about this. Let me tell you why. Would you care about it too? Would you join us in helping us? And you guys do, and you show up, and it was just so incredible when Susan called me and said, hey, your community has raised over $25,000. I was floored, especially because it was at the beginning of the pandemic. It was at the height of the pandemic when we were all scared for our jobs, the longevity of our jobs, our future. And so many people just gave, and they said, I've got $10, I can give you $2. I've got, you know what I mean? And I've always said that there's no amount that's ever too small. And all of those little acts of kindness and generosity combined together to make this big impact on the lives of children in foster care all over the United States. So I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys for that again, because it's one of the things I'm most proud of about this community is the way that we're able to parlay all of this fun and entertainment and just the fun that we have here, but then like Captain Planet, our powers combined, we're able to help people, and that's pretty amazing. So thank you guys for that. I'm going to give it a second to see if the screaming children stop, but if they don't, we just might have to continue. They're out there with their dad. Nobody's injured, everyone's fine. let's hope that the volume of that goes down. And then of course, obviously making the dream come true of us being able to sell our home and move to some land and start working towards having a little mini hobby farm homestead. And that was something that, you know, I did not ever think would happen in 2020. I didn't know when it would ever happen, but the fact that it happened to happen in 2020, the crazy year that it was, we're so grateful because again, if you've been around here, if you're somebody that's been watching my vlogs since 2014, you know that that's been a long time dream of ours and something that we've talked about nearly every year. We say, okay, we're going to try to make it happen. We're going to try to get our house sold. We're going to try to do this. And it's never happened. It's never been the right time. And this year it was the right time and we were able to make it happen. And now I'm sitting out here and from this very seat at the foot of my bed, I'm watching my llamas right there running around playing together. And I can see the boy goats. Can't see anybody else. But outside the window, there's horses and goats and pigs and llamas. And upstairs there's bunnies. And like, it's just this dream that I've had my whole life of having this little sort of hobby farm has become a reality. And it's so much work. There's so many things that, you know, it may seem idyllic, but in many ways are not and are tiring, and things are, you know, cost more money than you hoped that they would or than you planned for. You know, you buy a house that's almost 100 years old and there's lots of things that need to be done, and a house that had sat vacant for a really long time. So as we've lived in it with our herd of elephants, stuff's breaking. It needs to, you know, life stuff, right? So there's good and there's bad. And so I'm not going to get on here and complain about that stuff. But it's, you know, it's a dream come true for us. But even dreams have crappy parts, right? Even dreams have things that are not ideal or how you would choose for them to be. And so there's definitely that reality aspect as well. So it doesn't, though, ever overshadow the fact that I get to wake up and look out my window and see the horses and see the llamas. And I'm starting working on my garden planning. At some point, I am going to sit down and share with you guys and talk more about our plans for this place. I've alluded to it a few times, and someone has actually guessed it right. I've seen a comment, one person did guess correctly what our long-term goal is, what we hope to be able to do in the long term. I don't know exactly what it will look like, which is part of the reason I've hesitated to like sit down and spell it out, because I haven't even fully spelled it out. I just know what I have on my heart and what I hope to be able to do. I just don't quite know how to get there. There's a lot of steps in between. So I'm going to share that coming up. Like I said, there's going to be it's not like, okay, everything's changing content-wise on all of our channels. I'm just trying to find the right places to put things and how I want to share things and which parts of our life we want to continue sharing and which parts of our life we want to pull back and be a little more private with. That's always hard. People don't like change. And I totally get it, especially if, you know, you're really invested in something or someone that you're watching and then you feel like they've taken a part of the story away from you. And I totally get it. So we're just trying to figure out the best way for our family overall, and for myself and my mental health, and, you know, what's the best way moving forward for things. But I do have some really fun farm life video stuff that I'm going to be sharing as well coming up. So those were, I would say, you know, some of the big highlights of 2020 for us, and for this community and everything. I feel like I kind of, you know, can touch on like some personal, some community stuff, and then family. So those were just 3 highlights that stick out to me. Obviously there's a lot more like great things, and I'm not going to focus on the bad things. I'm just going to focus on the good things. And now let's talk about 2021. If you saw my last video and I talked about masterclass and how much I enjoyed it, I watched a masterclass about sleep. I have been struggling with sleep. Again, if you follow me on Instagram or whatever, you will regularly see me posting stories where I've fallen down a rabbit hole at 3 a.m. because I get insomnia and I can't go back to sleep, and I'm up reading about what Duggar kid is married to who and whatever, you know, some rabbit hole I've fallen down. And I haven't done that since we moved here, but I have really struggled with sleep. And I've done other things to mitigate that, like stop listening to true crime and just different things that I think might have been affecting it. And I've stepped up my use of, I have like a CBD roller, and I have some CBD drops, and I have other oils that I use. I've used for years, but I've tried to be more consistent with different things I've done. But watching this masterclass with this professor that sort of, I can't remember if he's from Cambridge or where he's from, but like university wise, but he's an expert, a sleep expert, and talking about how important sleep is, not just for us to feel good and refreshed, but actually for us to be able to learn things, retain things, and to live a long life. People who don't sleep don't live as long. And I was like, well, that's harsh. But it, and I'd read a book called The Self-Driven Child with our private group, with our private community group. We read that book and did like a book study on it. And he talked about that a lot in there as well, as far as like brain development goes. And that it's sort of like your brain takes that information that you've learned that day and sort of puts it here in short-term memory. And then when you sleep and you get to the right place in your sleep cycle, your brain can take that information and move it to like long-term storage where you're going to remember it forever, or you're going to, you're really going to retain it. And if you don't get adequate sleep, you're not able to retain the things that you've learned. And boy, what a waste of time that feels like, to spend time learning something, reading something, and not be able to retain it because you didn't sleep and allow your brain to like solidify it there. So that was in reference to kids, but obviously that's applicable for all of us. And so there's just all kinds of fascinating things in this masterclass about sleep. So one of my goals for 2021 is to focus on sleep for not just myself, but for our whole family. Because I'm not going to lie, we have a mix of great sleepers and crappy sleepers in this house. And it's something that I think when you have a big family, when you have 8 kids, sometimes you get really good at hobbling things. You get really good at learning how to make do, work around. And again, that flexibility to ebb and flow is really important. But there are other times when it's like, nope, you need to rein that back in, and we need some tighter perimeters around this for everyone, for everyone's physical health, mental health, all of that. Like we got to rein that in and fix it. And so for our family, sleep is something that I feel like has just gotten a little bit out of whack again, especially since we moved. So I have actually already started. I started after Christmas working on this, and there's just certain things that I'm doing, and I can do a whole video about that if you want to see. I don't know if that's interesting, so I'm not going to go into all the details here, but certain things I'm doing to ensure myself better sleep and my children better sleep, more consistent sleep, working through sleep issues, people who wake up too much at night, who don't need to be waking up that much at night, that sort of thing. So there are some resources I'm utilizing, but also just some different things I'm doing within our home and within our routine, and just within our diet, lifestyle, all of that, to hopefully remedy the sleep problems around here. And I do feel like I'm already seeing an improvement, and that's a great thing, because it was getting rough for a while there. It was getting rough. So sleep is one of my big focuses for the year. And I know that sounds kind of silly, because it's like people usually focus on like diet and exercise. And I'm like, I'm going to focus on sleep. But it's really true. Like none of those things will be as impactful and will be, making dietary changes and exercising and all of that can't have its full potency in your body if you're not sleeping, and you're not sleeping well. So that's why I'm turning focus to sleep. I'll worry about that other stuff later. Pretty certain I've talked about this before, is that this year I'm focusing on saying no more. Not no to my kids, but no to opportunities, no to certain things that I've talked many times about the shiny penny. Just because something is good does not mean it's for you. And even though I know that, I have a hard time applying that to my own life. There is an added element of stress and anxiety and things that come when you're an entrepreneur, when you work for yourself, when your ability to make money relies solely on you, and you choosing to do certain things with your business. And again, you see other people doing things and you're like, oh wow, that looks like that's really working for them, and maybe I should try that. And it can be like shiny pennies everywhere, and trying to figure out which ones you should pick up can be difficult. And so this year I just want to focus on, saying no more, saying, you know what, no, and just kind of looking at things with a much more critical eye. If I really want to do that, do I want to participate in that? Do I want to say yes to this? What can I say no to? Because again, a yes to any of those things is a no to my kids and family. In most cases, a yes to certain opportunities means that's a no to my kids. That's time I'm not going to be with them. That's time I'm not going to spend with them. And that adds up. And it can seem like because we're home together and we homeschool and my husband and I are both here, that like, oh, you'd think that you just get tons and tons and tons of time together. But because of all of the task things that we're doing, we're just kind of always doing things, and there's not a lot of time for just resting and relaxing and just kind of being together and hanging together. I do feel like it's almost like every minute of every day is accounted for. And I know we live in a culture that's very focused on being productive, and sort of that idea that every waking moment of every day should be filled with something that you should be doing, right? This productivity, wake up at 5 a.m. and do all the things, and crash at 10 o'clock and do it all again the next day at 5 a.m. And I don't really want to live my whole life that way if I don't have to. I want to do more read alouds with my kids. That's something that we were doing really well with earlier in 2020. And again, the second half of 2020, I just feel like our lives have become very task oriented. And so the time to just sit down and read a book that's not for school, reading a book that's just for fun or something like that, is something that has kind of gotten lost in the shuffle of life. And I want that back because I love reading aloud to my kids. I love reading in general. I love books. And my kids love me reading them books because I do all the voices and they really enjoy it. Some of you guys are super annoyed by all my weird voices, but my kids like them. And then continuing education for myself. I have a couple... I'm hesitant to actually say what they are, but I do have a couple of things that I would like to attempt this year as far as, learning new things. We'll leave it at that for now. But things like I said, masterclass. My goal is to take, maybe 2 a month, is to get through 2 masterclasses a month. I could do way more than that, but it would mean probably sacrificing sleep, which would be a problem for goal number 1. So I'm not going to sacrifice sleep. I'm going to stick to maybe trying to do 2 master classes a month because I just feel like I learned so much from them. If you've seen my other video, I've gone on and on about masterclass. I'm not going to do that here, but I really do enjoy them. And I tend to, again, like I read a lot of nonfiction books and stuff like that. So I'm always doing things that are, edifying me in a way, that are educating me in something that maybe I didn't know anything about or whatever. I'm always kind of hungry for information and knowledge, but I do feel like a lot of times it's like a revolving door. As I add more things, other things go. And I'm like, wait, I read that book. I should know that. Why don't I remember that? It's probably because I'm not sleeping. That's why I don't remember the things that I'm reading. So I want to kind of focus on continuing education stuff. And some of that might be just online stuff. And depending on what the landscape of 2021 looks like, some of it might also be some classes outside of the house, like some lessons and things like that. So we'll see. And I'll update you on that if that becomes a possibility. And then lastly, so I took the social media fast break and it's been fantastic. I really thought that I would be one of those people that would be like jonesing for it and reaching for my phone and trying to open Instagram. I have not. And that's how I know that it was a much needed break, is it has been good riddance to bad rubbish. No, I really do. There's so many things I love about social media, but there's lots of things that I don't. And so I have really enjoyed my break. I've said this before, that if I ever decided that I'm just going to shut down my YouTube channel, like I'm not going to do this anymore, we're going to, do something different and no longer, be share online or whatever, I would shut it all down. Like I wouldn't have a personal Instagram where I just share for I would shut it all down. I would be gone in the wind, poof, like a fart in the wind. I would be gone. And yeah, I fantasize about that. People fantasize about weird things, but I fantasize about saying goodbye forever to social media. So I really enjoyed my break, and I want to come back with really healthy boundaries around it and really healthy ways that I'm using it and showing up there and not allowing the pressures of, well, other people are doing this and that, and they're showing up every single day, and they're doing this and they're sharing that. And, you know, there's a lot of people who share a lot. Whether you feel that that's oversharing and all of that, we all have our different feelings on that. So I'm not going to sit in judgment there. But there are a lot of people who share a lot and, you know, arguably overshare a lot of things about their life. And I have pulled back more and more over the last couple of years, and trying to strike that balance between making sure that we have a connection and that y'all know me, and we're, you know, I want that it's genuine and it's real, because I am not going to get on here and fake and whole act and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm too freaking tired for that crap. But at the same time, it's okay to set healthy boundaries for myself about what I share online and what I don't. And sometimes people get really pissed, and it's really hard for them to deal with it, and they feel like they deserve to know all the things. And when you don't share it, they get really angry and don't even probably realize how silly it is that they expect you to share that. But anyway, so I have let those pressures sometimes seep in to feel like, well, I know that people are just concerned about this, so maybe I should talk about it. And I'm like, no, I don't have to. I do not have to. And so setting those healthy boundaries for myself has been something that I've needed to do for a long time, and I'm hoping to do as I come back, you know, and re-engage in social media. But moreover, I'm going to start in doing a social media fast once a week. I might do it for like the weekends, so Saturdays and Sundays, I'm poof gone from social media. And I might change and pick 2 other days that work easier or better for me, or one day or something. But I want to have at least 1 day a week where I delete Instagram, delete Facebook, delete it all from my phone, and I don't touch it for those days. The llamas are chasing each other and pronking and being complete goofballs. They're like teenage boys, or like preteen boys that, you know, they wrestle each other and stuff. Like, that's what they're doing right now. It's hilarious. But anyway, so I want to give myself the social media break on a consistent basis, and not be so present all the time for years and years, and then come to a point where I snap and I'm like, so instead of snapping, I'm going to give myself a break consistently. So that's one of my biggest goals for the year, is to be really consistent with that, healthy boundaries and breaks from social media, because we all need them. It's like we are a human experiment when it comes to social media and showing up in these places online and sharing different things. Like, it's an experiment. None of us really know, no one really knows the long-term effects and all of that. The research is coming out about the effects on kids and stuff, just not clear even for adults. And so we all need breaks from social media. So that's sort of, you know, my reflection on 2020 and what I'm looking forward to in 2021, and some of those sort of goals that I've set for myself. We have so many things that will hopefully be happening around here at the little hobby farm, and I'm excited to share more of that with you guys, and to kind of bring you in the loop of stuff that we're doing and working on. He's biting his butt. Cusco is chasing him and biting his butt, and then he takes off running and he chases him. Oh man, they're kind of scary though when they put their head down and they like really come at each other. I would run screaming from that. But anyway, so there's so many things I want to share with you guys about all of that. So all of that will be coming this year in videos. So let me know, of course, down below in the comments what types of videos you guys would like to see more of in 2021. I would also love to hear from you guys. What are some of your, you know, reflections on 2020 or goals for 2021? How are you feeling about things? Are you looking forward to 2021? Do you do resolutions? Do you have resolutions? Do you do goals? Or do you just say to heck with it all? Because that's totally okay too. All right, guys, that is it for me today. I hope you guys are having a great new year, and I will see y'all again very soon. Bye.
I wake up in the morning in this great blue state. Golden fingers caress my face, slips through the window.